You watched it every week, you knew the theme song by heart, you knew the girls by name, and you knew Mrs. Garrett's warm smile like it was part of your own living room. But even the most devoted fans missed a few things hiding in plain sight. So, today, we're going back to Eastland and counting down 25 small details you missed in the facts of life.
How come my face wasn't on page 1?
You're not cute enough.
Get Arnold.
Detail 25. The show was born from a Different Strokes season finale. Most people know The Facts of Life was a spin-off of Different Strokes, but fewer know just how quietly it arrived. The backdoor pilot wasn't announced as a spin-off at all. It aired as the very last episode of Different Strokes' first season in 1979, titled The Girls' School. In the episode, Kimberly Drummond needed help sewing costumes for a student play at her boarding school, East Lake School for Girls, after the dormitory house mother had abruptly quit. Mrs. Garrett stepped in, put the play together, helped one of the girls through a personal problem, and was offered a permanent position. She turned it down at the end of the episode, saying she preferred to stay with the Drummond family. 3 months later, NBC quietly launched The Facts of Life as a 4-episode summer tryout, and Mrs. Garrett had apparently reconsidered. The connection to Different Strokes remained. Mr. Drummond and Arnold both made guest appearances in the early seasons, and Tootie periodically crossed over to Different Strokes to visit Kimberly. Jo, however, was the only one of the core 4 girls who never made any crossover appearances on the parent series.
You can't do that, it's entrapment!
See my friends at love. Yeah, creep.
Detail 24. The school in the opening credits was never in New York. Every episode opened with a shot of Eastland School, supposedly located in Peekskill, New York. But that stately building with the ivy and the manicured grounds was actually Harwood Court Dormitory at Pomona College, sitting at 170 East Bonita Avenue in Claremont, California, about 2,600 miles from Peekskill. The building was constructed in 1921 as part of the women's dormitory complex on campus. It still stands today, largely unchanged from how it appeared on screen. Claremont is a small college town about 35 miles east of Los Angeles, a location that made it practical for the production to use as a quick exterior establishing shot whenever the script called for a view of Eastland from outside. The actual interiors, the dorm rooms, the kitchen, the common areas, and eventually the store, were all built and filmed on sound stages in Los Angeles, so the show's geography was quietly split in 2 for all 9 seasons. Every time you saw the outside of Eastland, you were looking at Southern California. Every time you stepped inside, you were on a studio lot. Most viewers never thought about it twice, and that seamlessness was exactly what the production was aiming for.
It was. But Mrs. Garrett's really been around.
Tootie.
Detail 23. Tootie's roller skates were a camera trick. Kim Fields was only 9 years old when The Facts of Life began production, but her character Tootie was written to be 12. The age gap wasn't the only problem. Fields was also physically small for her age, which made it difficult to frame her alongside older cast members without the difference being obvious. It was a practical challenge the crew needed to address before cameras rolled. The solution the producers came up with was simple: put her on roller skates. The added height from the skates was subtle enough not to draw attention, but just enough to help her hold her own in the shots. Fields wore those skates through the entire first season. Most viewers just thought it was a quirky character trait that helped define Tootie's personality. There's also a footnote to Fields' early career that connects to the Different Strokes universe directly. Before The Facts of Life, she had actually auditioned for a guest role on Different Strokes playing Arnold's girlfriend, and was turned down because she was considered too tall to appear convincing on screen next to Gary Coleman.
Judge will be calling here any minute. The name of Natalie's real mother. Already? Things are sure moving.
Detail 22. Blair's personality was rewritten because of how Lisa Whelchel read the script. When Lisa Whelchel auditioned for the role of Blair Warner, the character wasn't written as the spoiled, haughty rich girl audiences came to love. She was simply one of the girls. But Whelchel read one particular line during her audition in a way she described as snide, condescending, and sarcastic, more as a personal choice than a direction. The producers were struck by it. They didn't just cast her on the spot. They went back and rewrote Blair's character around the way Whelchel had delivered that single line. Whelchel later said she didn't even realize what she had done until she returned and found the character had been transformed entirely.
Blair's mom and Mr. Branch were making out. They're having an affair. The kind that isn't catered.
Detail 21. Mindy Cohn never auditioned. The character of Natalie Green didn't exist before Mindy Cohn walked into the room. Before the show began production, Charlotte Rae and the producers visited the Westlake School for Girls in Bel Air to observe how real teenage girls behaved and interacted. The goal was to find authentic personalities to base characters on, to make the show feel grounded in something true rather than written from a distance. Cohn was a student there, and she immediately caught everyone's attention, not because she was performing, but simply because of her natural presence and the way she connected with everyone around her. She was funny without trying, warm without pushing it, and completely at ease. Charlotte Rae later said Cohn reminded her of her closest friend from her own school days. The character of Natalie was written specifically for Cohn, even named partly as a nod to that real-life connection. Cohn then formally tested for the role she had essentially already been written for. She was the only one of the show's core four who came to the part this way, discovered living her actual life rather than auditioning for a fictional one. The character she ultimately played for 9 seasons retained many of those qualities that caught Ray's eye that day at Westlake: the warmth, the humor, the groundedness, and the sense that she was always the most honest person in any room she walked into. Detail 20. Molly Ringwald was cut from the cast before she was famous. In season 1, a young Molly Ringwald was part of the ensemble, playing a character named Molly Parker. The producers had originally intended her to stay on for the second season as a regular, but NBC had looked at the ratings and delivered a blunt order to the production: cut the cast down significantly and focus on fewer characters. Ringwald was among the 4 girls written out. The experience left a mark. She later described being hired and then fired as deeply disappointing, not just professionally, but personally. Even as her film career took off in the years that followed, with 16 Candles in 1984 and The Breakfast Club and Pretty in Pink in 1985 and 1986, she turned down repeated offers to return for guest appearances. She did appear briefly in the season 2 premiere before her exit, but her feelings about how things ended were clear enough that she kept a distance from the show for years. She later made a single guest appearance in season 8, alongside the other original season 1 girls, in a reunion episode. But that was after the wounds of the original dismissal had long since settled.
Don't make such a bad pan. But of course, tonight, you'd better use your sleeping bags.
Detail 19. The network's order was brutally direct. When The Facts of Life finished its first season in 1979, it ranked 74th out of 79 shows on the air, near the very bottom. NBC's instruction to the producers was direct: cut the cast down significantly and focus on fewer characters. The first season had featured 7 girls as central characters, plus a headmaster and a teacher, which spread the storylines too thin to develop anyone properly. The producers followed through and cut 4 of the 7 girls: Molly Ringwald, Julianne Haddock, Julie Piekarski, and Felice Schachter. The retooled show returned in November 1980 with 4 girls and a sharper focus, and the ratings began climbing almost immediately.
See something.
Mrs. Garrett, please, don't kibitz. If you want to play, just sit down.
Detail 18. Joe's character was invented specifically to replace Blair's edge. When Blair was rewritten as a pampered socialite going into season 2, the show suddenly had no rebellious character. The producers solved this by creating an entirely new one, Jo Polniacek, a tough scholarship-earning girl from the Bronx who arrived at Eastland on a motorcycle. The contrast with Blair was entirely intentional. Every quality that Blair had displayed during her edgier season 1 version, the defiance, the attitude, the challenge to authority, was now Joe's territory. Nancy McKeon was 14 years old when she auditioned for the role. She had been working in television since she was a child, appearing in commercials and small parts throughout the late 1970s. The producers saw hundreds of actresses for the role, but McKeon's intensity was something they hadn't seen from anyone else. She brought a coiled energy to the character that made Joe feel genuinely unpredictable in scenes, especially early on. The dynamic between Joe and Blair, the scholarship girl from the Bronx versus the debutante from a wealthy Connecticut family, became the spine of the show for the next 7 seasons. By season 3, The Facts of Life had become NBC's top-rated comedy, and that tension between the 2 characters was a large part of why.
I nominate Cindy. Cindy? Cindy's great! The best athlete in school.
Detail 17. The theme song was written by the same team as Different Strokes. The famous theme song, the one that lodged itself permanently into the memory of a generation, was composed by Alan Thicke, Gloria Loring, and producer Al Burton. That trio had already worked together on the Different Strokes theme, which Thicke himself performed. For The Facts of Life, they handed the vocal duties to Gloria Loring, who recorded the song that became the show's signature. Loring and Thicke were married at the time. Thicke had spent much of the 1970s composing theme songs for television game shows and variety programs before turning to sitcoms, eventually writing themes for both Different Strokes and The Facts of Life in consecutive years, 1978 and 1979. Despite how deeply these songs embedded themselves in popular culture, Thicke later noted in interviews that the art of the memorable television theme song was disappearing, replaced by short instrumental clips or nothing at all. Loring and Thicke divorced in 1984, but the songs outlasted everything. Their son Robin Thicke was born during this era, growing up with 2 parents whose most enduring work played on television sets across the country every single week.
More damage to the foundation than I thought.
I can see, but I thought the floor was supposed to be done by now.
Detail 16. There were 2 completely different theme songs. Most people know only the version of the theme that opened season 2 and beyond. But in the show's first season, the theme was entirely different, both in lyrics and in delivery. The season 1 version was performed by Charlotte Rae herself with the original cast and featured lyrics that were more directly tied to school life. The familiar version sung by Gloria Loring didn't debut until season 2. Even that version wasn't static. Loring recorded 2 separate versions over the course of the show's run. One was used from seasons 2 through 6, and a second, slightly updated version was used for seasons 7 through 9. Most viewers never noticed the change.
The
Perkins.
Oh, sure. Wouldn't Marlon Perkins miss his wild kingdom?
Detail 15, Charlotte Rae performed the theme song live and forgot the words. Charlotte Rae appeared on Alan Thicke's talk show, Thickie of the Night, during the show's run and performed the original Season 1 theme song live. Midway through the performance, she forgot the words. It was an unscripted, genuinely human moment that was left in for broadcast. Thicke's late-night talk show, which aired in syndication starting in 1983, was one of the higher-profile television ventures of that period outside the major networks. Rae had performed the Season 1 version of the theme with the original cast, but by the time she appeared on Thicke's show, Gloria Loring had long since taken over as the voice of the song. The material had simply been sitting unused for a couple of years, and apparently Rae hadn't kept it fresh. It's a small window into the reality of live television performance, and into the warmth that made Charlotte Rae so beloved in the first place. She didn't panic, she simply moved forward.
See, I had this made. It says I don't have cerebral palsy, I'm drunk.
Detail 14. Norman Lear never put his name on the credits. The Facts of Life was a Norman Lear production, one of the defining figures of American television comedy. But his name never appeared in the credits. He opted instead for the more anonymous Tandem Productions as the production company identifier, and he rarely, if ever, discussed the show in interviews. This was particularly notable given that The Facts of Life became the longest-running sitcom in NBC history to that point, and did so with an all-female lead cast, something that had never been done before on network television. The show earned that distinction in his name, but Lear never stepped forward to claim it.
It wouldn't be fair. These are boys. I come from a world of men.
Detail 13. The show moved studios 3 times during its run. Over 9 seasons, the production relocated its base of operations more than once. From 1979 through 1982, the show was produced at Metromedia Square in Los Angeles. In 1982, the production moved to Universal City Studios. Then, in 1985, it moved again to Sunset Gower Studios at 1438 North Gower Street in Hollywood, where it remained through the end of the series in 1988. Sunset Gower had a long history in Hollywood production, and for the cast and crew, the move coincided with one of the show's bigger creative resets, the season that introduced George Clooney and destroyed Edna's edibles in a fire. For viewers tuning in from home, none of these transitions were visible. The sets looked continuous across 9 years, the characters aged naturally, and the world of Eastland and the shop felt like one unbroken place. That consistency was part of what made the show feel like home to the people who watched it.
Everybody, coffee. Thanks, Pippa.
Warner.
Yes,
Detail 12. There was a scale on set, and the girls were weighed every week. This is one of the details that becomes harder to hear with time. A scale was kept on the Facts of Life set throughout much of the show's run, and the cast members were required to weigh in on a weekly basis. Lisa Whelchel, who played Blair, later spoke about being sent to a weight loss camp during hiatus breaks on at least 3 separate occasions when producers felt she had gained too much weight. Whelchel recalled being told, "We bought you a ticket to the Fat Farm," when she mentioned plans to travel home during a break. Whelchel was a teenager when this began. Nancy McKeon also later addressed the pressure, acknowledging that the entertainment industry had expectations that bore no relationship to what was healthy or realistic for young women.
Dude, I'm a lover, not a fighter. I'm okay the way I am.
Detail 11. Producers told Mindy Cohn to gain weight. At the same time, Lisa Whelchel was being pressured to stay thin, the situation for Mindy Cohn was the opposite. Cohn, who played Natalie, was reportedly told by producers to gain a significant amount of weight to better fit the show's vision of the character. The contrast between how two cast members were treated, one being sent away for being too heavy and the other being encouraged to become heavier, speaks to the confusing and often contradictory pressures young actresses faced on set. Cohn has spoken about these experiences in interviews in later years, and the discussions have become part of the broader conversation about how young performers were treated during that era of television.
Hey, I don't have to put these on people's windshield wipers, do I? I hate that when people do that to my car. I get mad.
Detail 10. George Clooney was considered just another actor on set. George Clooney joined the cast in season 7 as George Burnett, a handyman who helped out around Edna's edibles and later over our heads. He appeared in 17 episodes across seasons 7 and 8. By every account from the cast, no one on set had any particular sense that he would become what he became. Mindy Cohn later recalled that he was simply another actor doing his job. Nothing about his presence suggested the career that followed. Lisa Whelchel shared a kissing scene with Clooney during his time on the show and later admitted she had no specific memory of it at all. It was, for all of them, just another day at work.
Every week for 2 years, and all I'm seeing is those eyes, and she's giving it back to me. You know what I mean.
Detail 9. Clooney was added to boost ratings, and it worked. The decision to bring Clooney onto the show in season 7 wasn't just a creative one. It was a deliberate attempt to refresh what NBC internally referred to as a ratings workhorse. The same season, Mrs. Garrett's store, Edna's Edibles, was destroyed by fire in the premiere episode Out of the Fire. The follow-up episodes had the girls rebuilding together, creating Over Our Heads, a pop culture gift shop. The changes worked. All 3 episodes, Out of the Fire, Into the Frying Pan, and Grand Opening, placed in the Nielsen Top 10 for their respective weeks.
I think I'll go see if those cheese balls are wilted.
Detail 8. Charlotte Rae recommended her own replacement. When Charlotte Rae decided to leave the show at the end of season 7, she didn't leave the production without guidance. She personally recommended Cloris Leachman as her successor. The two women had known each other since their days as students at Northwestern University in the late 1940s, and they had been roommates as young, struggling actresses trying to make it in New York City. Rae and Leachman were born just 8 days apart. Charlotte Rae on April 22nd, 1926, and Cloris Leachman on April 30th, 1926, which made them almost exactly the same age for all of the years they had known each other. When Leachman joined the show as Beverly Ann Stickle, written as Mrs. Garrett's sister, she brought with her a personality that echoed her Emmy-winning role as Phyllis Lindstrom on The Mary Tyler Moore Show and its spin-off Phyllis. Beverly Ann was pricklier and less instantly warm than Edna Garrett, but she found her footing with the girls over time. The real-life story of two women who had been friends and roommates since their 20s and who ended up playing sisters on the same television show 4 decades later is one of the quieter human stories threaded through the entire run of The Facts of Life.
Different kinds. Look, this isn't some guy I picked up at a bar. I have been going out with Snake for over a year now.
Detail 7. Lisa Whelchel refused to film a major episode for religious reasons. In the final season, the writers decided it was time for one of the 4 main characters to lose her virginity on screen. The storyline was originally written for Blair. Lisa Whelchel, who had become a devout Christian as a young child, declined to film it. She was written out of the episode entirely. an unusual absence given that she appeared in every other episode of the 9-season run. Mindy Cohn stepped forward and volunteered her character, Natalie, for the storyline instead. The episode, titled The First Time, aired with a parental advisory warning before it began and ranked 22nd in the ratings for its week.
Third-year med student at the hospital.
Perfect. First he turns your stomach, then he pumps it for you.
Detail 6. The show ended because 2 cast members chose to leave. By the end of season 9, NBC still had enough confidence in the show to offer a 10th season renewal. The Facts of Life was still winning its time slot. The cancellation wasn't a network decision. It was a personal one. Mindy Cohn and Nancy McKeon both decided they were ready to move on, and without them, the show's core couldn't hold together. NBC canceled The Facts of Life, but not before using the 2-part series finale as a backdoor pilot for a potential sequel series. In the finale, Blair purchases Eastland to prevent it from closing and becomes the new headmistress, essentially stepping into Mrs. Garrett's role. The sequel series was never ordered.
That'll be great. I mean, I wouldn't want to have my head chopped off.
Detail 5. Jerry Jewell was the first actress with a disability to appear regularly on a primetime series. Jerry Jewell played Blair's cousin Jerry Tyler, who had cerebral palsy, the same condition Jewell herself lives with. When she began appearing on The Facts of Life in the early 1980s, she became the first actor with a physical disability to hold a regular role on a primetime network television series in the United States. Her character was originally created as a device to reveal a softer, more empathetic side of Blair, a way to show that beneath the vanity and the privilege, there was someone capable of genuine connection. But Jewell's presence on the show became something larger than a character function. Her appearances made disability visible on primetime television at a time when it was almost entirely absent from the screen, and in a way that was neither exploitative nor sentimental. Jewell later said that the experience of being on The Facts of Life helped open doors not just for her, but for other performers with disabilities who were watching and thinking about whether a career in entertainment was possible for them. Charlotte Rae was also known to have vetoed at least one anti-gay joke from a script during the show's run, citing her view that the show had no business making fun of anyone's identity, a standard that extended to how the show treated all its characters. Detail 4. Gary Jewell, George Clooney, and Molly Ringwald all played characters with their own first names. It's a small detail that slips past most viewers. Gary Jewell played Gary Tyler, George Clooney played George Burnett, Molly Ringwald played Molly Parker. All 3 guest and recurring players were given characters who shared their real first names. Whether this was intentional on the part of the writers or simply the path of least resistance, a way to help newer, less experienced actors stay grounded in scenes by responding to their own name. The pattern is consistent across 3 very different performers across different seasons of the show. Jewell was a stand-up comedian navigating a career alongside her disability. Ringwald was a child actress still finding her footing. Clooney was a young man grinding through television guest appearances with no particular indication yet of what his career would become. All 3, at the moment they walked onto the Facts of Life set, were addressed on screen by the name they had always answered to.
Girls, the shopping was just awful. I tell you that
Detail 3. The show's pilot was set at a school with a different name. When Mrs. Garrett appeared in the backdoor pilot on Different Strokes, the school where she briefly worked was called East Lake School for Girls, not Eastland School. The name changed between the pilot and the series premiere. characters also changed. Several of the first season girls were different from those in the pilot, and the school setting itself was reconceived before production began in earnest. By the time The Facts of Life launched as its own series in August 1979, Eastland had fully replaced East Lake, and the original pilot was quietly treated as a rough draft rather than a true beginning.
Oh, that's wonderful, Tootie.
So now you can get a set of Hot Wheels, cruise the dragon, raise hell. I can't wait to grow.
Detail 2. Mackenzie Aston's family ties were hiding in plain sight. Mackenzie Aston joined the show in season 6 as Andy Moffat, eventually becoming a regular through the final season. His parents were Patty Duke, who won an Academy Award for The Miracle Worker, and John Aston, best known for playing Gomez Addams on The Addams Family. His brother is Sean Astin, who would later star in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. None of this was hidden exactly, but for viewers who didn't already know the Astin family name, the young actor showing up as a recurring teenager on a Friday night sitcom gave no particular indication of the family he came from or the career his brother would eventually have. Detail 1. The show was still winning its time slot when it was canceled. This is the detail that stays with the cast most of all. When The Facts of Life aired its final episode on May 7th, 1988, it was still beating its competition in the ratings. It had never won a major Emmy Award, only 3 nominations over 9 years for hairstyling, technical direction, and a lead actress nod for Charlotte Rae in 1982. Critics had largely ignored it throughout its run, treating it as lightweight programming unworthy of serious attention. But the audience never left. The show ran on Friday nights for most of its life, a time slot that network executives considered a graveyard for series with uncertain futures. The Facts of Life not only survived there, it dominated. Kim Fields put it plainly years later. The show was always a success with the audience, even when it was invisible to the critics and awards bodies. It ran for 201 episodes across 9 seasons, produced a television movie, launched the careers of performers who became household names, and tackled storylines: eating disorders, sexual assault, drug dependency, racial tension, disability, that most Friday night sitcoms would never have touched. It ended not because the audience had moved on, but because the people who made it had given everything they had to give. And they left on their own terms. From roller skates used as camera tricks to a future Hollywood legend who went completely unnoticed on set, The Facts of Life had more going on behind the scenes than most viewers ever knew. It ran for 9 seasons, asked honest questions, and gave a generation something real to hold on to every Friday night. If you enjoyed these 25 small details, give this video a like and subscribe so you never miss what's coming next. We'll see you in the next one.